Welcome back to the Mountain Weekend Show. I'm here with Brian Jones, a member of the Alta Ski School here at Alta. Thanks very much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
Tell me a little bit about what you do here at the mountain.
Well, I'm a ski instructor. I've been here for 15 years, and I teach ski lessons every day. And in addition to that, I work with the Alta Historical Society, and I do a number of slideshows and lectures and workshops on the geology of Alta and how it affects the skiing experience.
Tell me a little bit about the ski school itself and the folks who sign up and how you help them learn to ski better.
Well, we help them learn to ski better by teaching them on the best snow on Earth, the greatest snow on Earth. So we have a variety of terrain here, and I think you just skied down Crooked Mile, which is a great place for beginners. And at Alta, the slopes step up very gradually from the beginner slopes to lots of intermediate slopes to lots of easy off-trail slopes, and with some of the most spectacular powder runs that you'll ever see anywhere.
It sounds like that gives you a great opportunity to progress skiers through sort of the progression, if you will, of beginner through intermediate to taking on some of the more advanced terrain here.
That's exactly right. The critical thing about teaching skiing is to put students in places where they can be successful. And so based on their skill level, we try to keep them on terrain where they will improve their skiing. And once they improve their technique, then we'll step it up. We just step it up a little bit. And at the end of the day, they're usually skiing something they never imagined that they would ski.
Tell me a little bit about the size of the ski school here.
Well, I think we're the smallest ski school in the Wasatch. We have about 95 instructors, and that may sound like a lot, but about half of those are half-time, and then we have a huge kids program where we teach kids how to ski, and then we have adult instructors. So we're teaching every level of skiing every day in the Alta Ski School.
Walk me through sort of a typical day on the weekend. How many folks would you say are out taking a lesson on a given day where the weather's nice and you've got a pretty good crowd here at the mountain?
Well, that's hard to say. It varies so dramatically with vacation days. I mean, when we get to spring breaks throughout the month of March, we're going to be real busy. We're going to have a lot of students. We never let our classes go over 7 people. And when it's quiet, their classes are often smaller than that. And then people like to book private lessons, and those private lessons can be booked at any hour of the day. They can be booked for any length of time that people like. So the full-time staff of the ski school is kept really busy throughout the 150-day season.
Tell me a little bit about the way that Alta qualifies the instructors that they have before they're sent out with a new skier or a group.
Well, there are 2 different systems. There's the national system, which is the Professional Ski Instructors of America, which we refer to as PSIA. All Alta ski instructors have some level of certification. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that even though you may have some certifications, before you can teach the higher levels here in the ski school, you have to go through an internal certification process. For example, when I came here, I had to go through a process so I could teach intermediate skiers. And in order to do that, you have to write up an extensive description of how you're going to do it and where you're going to take it. And then you go out with a director of training, and he watches you teach a lesson, and then he'll pass you off for this, hopefully. And then you move your way up this through the different levels from 1 to 9.
I imagine that this increased level of internal training and certification helps your instructors move through the PSIA system pretty easily.
Well, absolutely, and they run a real tight ship here. We have very small turnover within the Alta Ski School, and one of the reasons is that this is such a great place to ski, and it's such a great place to teach, and we're able to really improve the skiing ability of our skiers routinely when we take them out on the mountain.
You mind if I ask how long you've been here at Alta?
Only 15 years. I'm still a new guy. We have a huge veteran staff of instructors. And the new people who come in find that this is a really rigorous ski school where you have to go through a process of certifications, both through PSIA and both through the internal certification and training. And you know something? We really like it that way because you always know where you stand and you always know what you can do and who you can teach. And the instructors that we have, the director of training, who's Scott Mathers, is a fantastic instructor, and that's who I work with personally on my skiing. And not only are we working on how to teach, but we're all working on how to ski better every day.
So we're going to take a look at some of the more, maybe more advanced terrain here and get a look at some of the vistas. Give me a preview of what we're going to go check out here on skis next.
Well, what I wanted to do is I like to go to Devil's Castle. I like to go to the base of Devil's Castle where we can look up at that magnificent hanging wall of Devil's Castle, the hanging wall of Sugarloaf Peak, and the marvelous glacial features that make Alta what it is. It's these amazing bowls, they're called cirques, that were formed by the glaciers about 20,000 years ago, that make the shape of Alta, and that's what makes it such a unique place to ski.
So we're going to get a little bit of fun skiing, we're going to get a little bit of natural beauty, and we're going to get a little bit of science lesson here next, right?
That's what we're going to do, but we're also going to go ski the greatest snow on Earth.
Right on, let's go check it out.
All right.
So, Brian, we've just come up the Collins Lift and traversed across Devil's Way. Give me a sense of where we are on at Alta here.
Well, we're standing just below the head wall of the Devil's Castle, and this is one of the most spectacular places in the world. I mean, geologically, or just for a skier, just being here, being able to ski in great snow in this environment. So we came here so we can look down into the valley. We can look at the shape of the slopes, and we can imagine what this place was like 20,000 years ago when you and I would be standing beneath about 500 feet of ice.
So give me a quick tour visually of what we're looking at behind us, and then tell me a little bit about how it was formed and some of the features that we see in front of us.
Okay, well, the most dramatic thing that you see right off the bat is Devil's Castle, obviously. And Devil's Castle was the head wall of the glacier. Glaciers form head walls at their top as they're carving the rock away. And this enormous bowl that we see behind us, which is called Albion Basin.
Now, as we talked about on the way up, in my mind, I think of a glacier in fast-forward motion.
Right.
But you surprised me when you said that this actually was quite a fast-moving or fast-occurring event in the grand scheme of where we're standing.
Yeah, the climate changes. The climate oscillates on cycles of 120,000 years and 20,000 years. Right now, we're in the Wisconsin glaciation. And within the Wisconsin glaciation, there were periods when glaciers started to form, and there's an equation for that. It's very simple. If it snows more in the winter than can melt in the summer, then you're going to start to pack up snow. And as you pack up more and more snow and compress it, it becomes ice. You get enough of it, it starts to move down the valleys. In this case, it was about 20,000 years ago that the snow packed up, and it got to the point where it started to actually flow like a liquid down this canyon.
And that flow makes what you described as the more gentle features, right?
Well, it makes all of the features. So the basic characteristic of a glacier is to form a U-shaped valley. A stream forms a V-shaped valley, with fairly consistent slopes on both sides of it. But these glaciers form U-shaped valleys, and that's what you're seeing all around here as you look around the base. You look up into the head wall, and it gets quite steep up there as you go towards Sugarloaf Peak. And then as you come down, the slope gradually decreases as you come into this circle behind us, the circular feature behind us. Now, in terms of skiing, this is the perfect combination of things. First of all, because you have various different angles and various slopes, you can pick your slope. You can pick steep, or you could pick not so steep, and you can come here and ski it. And also, because we have these head walls, you notice looking up there that much of this area is in shadow. And there are large areas of the ski area that stay in shadow for 2 months a year. So once we get this good snow to begin with, it stays in the shadow. It becomes chalky, and it's real soft to ski on, and it's like that for months.
The question that I asked you again on the chairlift up, I was asking about the depth of the snow, and you said there's an easy way to sort of tell what the height of the glacier was as we were coming up the lift. Talk about that for a second.
Well, that's the question I always ask people when I'm doing my slideshows and workshops, and I do a lot of those here in the evening at Alta. And they're usually fairly well. If you're at Alta, everybody knows about them because we put up lots of posters. But as you look around the valley and you try to imagine the height of the glacier, the easiest way to do it is to look at the traverses that the skiers take. Because the skiers are more or less marking every day the highest elevation of the glacier. Right now, Devil's Castle isn't open. We don't see any skiers going out there. But the traverse would go just below the top cliff. And if you want to ski that, and you're a real good skier, by the way, you want to take the traverse out. So you see that little valley out there? You can see that?
Yeah.
Okay, that is, if I have a favorite run in this place, it's that at Devil's Castle. And it isn't particularly steep. But like all U-shaped valleys, those first 6 or 8 turns are a little steeper, so they're going to get you pumping a little bit. You know, you'll be thinking about that a little. And then you get down a little farther, it starts to get a little more gradual, and you say, oh, start to think, oh, I'm getting really good here. And then you get down the bottom, you had such a good time, you say, oh, let's go do that again.
Well, Brian, that sounds great. Let's get a little bit more skiing in and take in another spot where you can show us a little bit more about the geology here at Alta.
I'm ready.
So, Brian, you and I are skiing along back here among the trees, and you pull up and bring me over to this rock. What's going on with this rock?
Well, basically, it's a really cool rock. And I'm a geologist, and I can't ignore a really cool rock. And, you know, it's just mind-boggling when you think about where the geology of this place was. We've been talking about glaciers, which were 20,000 years old. Now we're looking at a rock. It's a Mississippian rock. This is 350 million years old. So you have to sort of change the way that you're thinking. And this is a limestone. And this is a block of limestone. We see a lot of these blocks around here. But the thing that's so amazing about it is the environment of deposition. Limestones form today in places like, Eleuthera Island, or down in Jamaica. They form in the tropics in clear tropical water. And this limestone was formed in just such an environment. So the site of Alta was a shallow, clear sea. And if you look at the rock carefully, it's full of fossils. It was full of life in the Paleozoic era 350 million years ago. And actually it's full of little horn corals. And this was part of an extensive coral reef 350 million years ago.
So when you're out here skiing along, enjoying a beautiful powder day, and you ski past a rock, you might just be skiing past something that you don't even know its origin, and maybe worth stopping to take a quick look, huh?
Well, that's right. But we also have a Ski with a Ranger program on the weekends where you can go out with a ranger working with the Forest Service in Alta. And they'll take you around to some of these things. And right up above us is a coral reef that I've looked at many times in the summer that is just solid coral fossils there, horn coral fossils. And these things are everywhere. And when you start to look, you start to see all these details. And from my point of view, it makes the entire skiing experience a lot more fun.
Well, it certainly does put a different perspective on it. So now that I've had a chance to realize that I'm surrounded by rocks that are millions and millions of years old, let's head back to another vista, and you can show us another sort of big feature here from a geology perspective. So Brian, we've skied over to a spot that you described as the entrance to Ballroom. Give me a quick idea of what we're looking at behind us here.
Well, behind us is Ballroom, and this is this huge, broad cirque. So this is where the glacier started here in this part of Alta, which is called Collins Gulch, and above it is the huge rock face of Baldy. So this hasn't been open yet today. It'll be opening fairly soon when they get the control work done. But look at all that untracked powder out there in Boulder waiting to be skied.
It looks really tasty.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my eye on it later in the day.
So we are near the Wasatch Fault.
The Wasatch Fault is what made all of this happen. And we're about 8 miles from the fault zone itself. When you drove up through the valley, you were down there in a desert. And in a distance of 8 miles, you drove from the desert up to this alpine paradise. The reason it's here is because the Wasatch Fault is an active fault that is moving the mountains upward. And the rate of movement is incredible. It's actually about an inch every 10 years. But there are earthquake faults down there that have been documented by the Utah Geological Survey. And when you go down right at the mouth of the canyon, there's a little park down there called G.K. Gilbert Geologic Park, right at the mouth of the canyon. You could go there and there's a whole bunch of illustrated panels showing you the faults, showing the glacial features. It's a fantastic place to visit.
Now, if we want to go online and our viewers want to go see and learn more about these features you've just talked about, where can they go?
Well, it's easy. The Alta Historical Society has a website called altahistory.org. And on that website, if you click on the Geology tab, you'll come to a section on the geology of Alta. This is something that I wrote several years ago, and it has approximately 60 illustrations of geologic features at Alta and descriptions, brief descriptions in English, by the way, not in geospeak, brief descriptions of what the significance of each of these. And it also includes a description of my favorite 20 runs at Alta from the position of a geologist.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I'll be sure to check that out. Now, before you and I take on this beautiful, blown-in, soft snow, it looks really good. Tell me about the afternoon programs for folks who are advanced skiers here at Alta.
Yeah, we have afternoon workshops. They start every day at 1:30, and these are for advanced and expert skiers. The beginners and intermediates meet over on the other side of the mountain at the Albion base. These lessons at 1:30 for the workshops, they meet it down here at Watson's Grill, which is right here just below us a little ways. And what they will do is they will take you off trail to the finest skiing on the mountain and improve your skiing in off-trail conditions depending on the conditions of the day.
Well, Brian, thanks very much for giving us a really neat perspective on this area from a geologic perspective. And make sure, folks, when you come out to Alta, you check out the ski school, the Alpha Engen Ski School, and take a look around at all the beautiful features you see and get a thought on the history and the grandeur that surround us. Until then, you're watching the Mountain Weekend Show. We'll be back right after these messages.